Hello, 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 my loves. We are going to have a very laid back, very easy, very chill session today. But I'm so sorry to report that I'm going to be using some props. And the most useful props I could find for this lesson were cat toys. So I'm so sorry that my worst cats makes it sound like I have a whole passel of cats are just up on the desk going ahead and having as much of a messy chaotic time as possible. So if you see way more cats this time, I'm very sorry. Unless you're into more cats, in which case, good news. Uh, so we were working on the CSS variables, building a city skyline. And we talked about this a little bit last time, but I wanted to get some more confusing. Um, I wanted to get some more confusing similes, some more confusing ways to describe CSS variables. And remember last time I told you a variable in general, a variable is a place to store a value. It's a very computer sciencey way to say it, but that doesn't make a lot of sense to us yet. And then I told you that a variable is like a box. Okay. And I brought a camera-friendly box this time. And remember the two things we could do with a variable right now is we could declare a variable and make it happen. What do I need to declare a variable? What do I need to say? So I can't just say variable. I mean, I can, that's part of it. That's part of declaring a variable. What do I need to give a variable in order for it to exist? And there's always a little bit of a delay. I'm going to cheat and use this to delay to unwrap a sticker. There's a lot of secret perks to being in tech. And one is that people give you stickers at tech events. Mr. Grubworm, fabulous. Your variable needs a name, and this is the syntax for a variable in CSS. So a CSS variable, that's the grammar we use. Y'all, look at me spending your valuable learning time trying to take the back off a sticker. All right, it's going to be a panda then. So I'm going to name, I've got a panda sticker. I'm going to name this variable. I'm going to declare this variable. And I'm going bro, get down. Come on, Bubba. Thank you. So this is my panda variable. And that means I can put a value inside the variable. I'm going to use this little tiny cactus cat toy. And that's why my horrible little son is so present. So now in my code, whenever I say var panda, my code is going to look through to see if it can find a variable named panda. And then when it finds it, it's going to look at what's inside the variable, the value. And it says, oh, whenever you call the variable, whenever you use the variable, it's going to deliver whatever is in the panda variable. Does that make it? What if I didn't put what if I put a little squeaky rubber duck in there? Ooh. So this way, if I used panda variable in my code, every time I'll give you the ducky in a second, sweetheart. Every time I use that, it would go and find the variable if it was within scope, if it could, and then it would use what it found inside the variable declaration. It would use the ducky. All right. There's your toys back. There's a mouse too. So hopefully we'll get a little bit of peace and quiet. And hopefully that kind of box concept's helpful. We're going to add the same display, align items, and justify content properties to the foreground buildings as I did to the background buildings. You know how Tessa points out, my cat was just not having it. He was sitting up on the table, so mad. He did not know why I had his little mousey. So I've promised I'd say lazy a little bit less often. In order to be efficient, I want to add the same display, align items, justify content to my foreground as my background. I'm going to go copy and paste these. Where's foreground? Where's background buildings? I'm just going to come get you. Have a chill little time. Come on, where are you? Haha. I said display and background buildings and justify content are all the same. If they're not, take a breath down, whoosh, and come all the way down. Oh, so display, align items, and justify content. We copied and pasted these. So these should just all be the same. I'm going to check my code. Everything's so chill. Ha ha ha. We're going to optimize our code. What do you think? Actually, from yesterday, optimize was one of the alternatives to say being lazy. So optimize, clearly the way to go. We're going to optimize our code. We're going to streamline it. We're going to make it more reusable. We're going to move the position and the top properties from the foreground buildings to the background buildings. What? So I'm gonna cut. Oh, I see what you're asking for. So this is saying that we're going to use the comma separator and set the same rules for background buildings and foreground buildings. So move the position, top, and properties value from foreground buildings to background buildings. Okay, so I'm going to do this first. Because it's setting the rules for everything. We don't necessarily need that. So this is probably going to change and look a little bit more sensible in a second. So move the top value, position top from background to foreground. Okay. I'm going to come all the way down to foreground. Where are you? I'm going to take position top and I'm going to use Command or Control X to cut these. And I'm going to come all the way back up to this comma separated one. I'm going to re-add this here. So these are laid. Oh, you know what? The background and foreground should have been a little bit of a clue, huh? I think I'm going to come down to where we can submit this. I think this might work. The position of absolute should be on both. Okay. I feel like position absolute is set on both. I'm gonna, I see position absolute right there, don't you? Oh gosh, Tessa, after my own heart. Tessa's so patient saying, Jess, right here you've written foreground buildings as though it's a element level selector and it's a class. Thank you so much. Infinitely patient. Now that should work. Way to come all the way back down. None of this can hurt us. Everything's fine. All right. So this old foreground building, we could just get rid of it. This is what they mean by optimizing code. We're going to delete it. We're going to streamline it. We don't need it anymore. It's duplicated. It's repetitive. Let's bop on. Oh, and this is just a friendly little reminder. So if you've got the cash, so the boot camp is always free and free code camp is always free, but they're a registered nonprofit. So if you've got the money to donate, it's a super cool thing to do, but don't you spend money you don't have. So my skyline's coming together. I'm going to fill in the background property of the foreground building. So I'm going to use my var and remember, I don't really remember how we call a CSS variable. Can somebody give me the syntax to call a CSS variable? Because I'm going to make building color 1 for FB3 and 4. Building color 2 for FB5. Building color 3 for FB2 and 6. And building color 4 for FB1. This is not the way I'd lay this in order to make this the easiest to remember. But it's going to be the way it's going to be. I'm going to open a soda while I'm on nice and loud while I'm on a call with you, just to see if I can get one of you to give me the syntax and keep me lazy. To make things worse on my worst cat, he's absolutely obsessed with Dr. Pepper and trying to drink it. So we want, oh, Stephen B, thank you. So we want to put the variable name with all the dashes and all that. We're going to put it inside the smooth braces, and then var comes before it. So var dash dash building color 4. Oh, I know why this didn't work. I just said the variable name, but I didn't tell it what it was going to do. I need to say, hey, yep, we want the background color. Oh, that's just fine. The background color. And do you know what? We're going to be as efficient as possible. So I'm going to copy this and eyeball this. Building color 1 for 3 and 4. Okay. Went down to 3. Building color 1. Copy that again. Building color 4. And this is a lot to remember. If we wanted to kind of keep track of what was working and what wasn't. Okay, so FB2 needs a building color 3. Nice. We could use our tests to tell us where we want to go. FB building color 3. And I see somebody saying they got stuck on this. And this is kind of annoying because not that you got stuck, but this is an annoying one to get stuck on just because they give you the instructions in a weird order. FB5 should be building color 2. So I'm kind of cheating a little bit, but I'm letting my failed tests tell me what I might want to do next. FB6 needs a building color of 3. And this might seem like a brutally efficient thing to do. I'm super willing to fail these tests again and again just to see what to do next. But I absolutely promise you can go ask anybody, you can go ask deadly serious frowning developers that using your tests to guide your development is an absolutely legit way to do things. We're going to squeeze our buildings together. So 2 empty divs at the top and bottom. And then one more between FB2 and FB3. Do you know what we love to do? We love to. I mean, the first thing I love to do is tell you that things are conceptual boxes, because the same way a variable's a box, a div is just like a much less clever box, isn't it? So I'm going to copy and paste this. I want 2 at the start. I want 1 between 2 and 3. And I'm going to come down one more time. And I want 2 at the bottom. Let's make it so you can actually see the bottom. And I've put these all on separate lines just so that they're more human readable, that I can read them better. But don't forget that, I mean, you can forget, it won't hurt you, that it would work just as well with these 2 on the same line. I bet you imaginary money that's going to pass. Yeah. So I want to, hang on. I want to move the position of FB4. That's the foreground building number 4. Okay. And I want to add the position of relative and left 10%. Okay. And then it wants me to do something else for FB5, but I want to do these one at a time. Otherwise, I'm going to get them mixed up. Whenever you get a bunch of instructions at the same time from a client or from a tutorial, go ahead and chunk them. Dividing problems up like this is, let me find that. Is this concept of decomposition, sometimes called factoring, but I think decomposition sounds more cool. Let's embiggen this a little bit. So decomposition is when you take a problem that's hard or a problem that's stressful and you break it down into smaller, easier to process problems. So This is going to be something just, you don't have to know this, you don't have to memorize it. But I really like this idea of decomposition because it can feel, oh, I've only got two sets of instructions. Do I need to break them down and deal with them step by step? But getting into this habit will make your life so much more relaxing, I think. Position. Did I spell that right? Yeah. Position of relative. I'm going to semicolon there. I'm going to go left 10%. Okay. And I'm not going to do all of y'all's homework for you. So we'll stop. We'll stop when we stop. And for FB5, I want to, oh, they give us less and less information. So they're not going to give us all the code. So they do the same for FB5, but use right instead of left. So I bet you know exactly what I'm going to do to optimize this. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to come down and paste it. Sort out I'm just going to change this to right. Would we feel good about this? Everything is fine. So the code is starting to get a little bit long, right? Oh, look at this. I love this. I'm going to let somebody else tell me, why are we adding these comments? Why in the real world or here, why would we be adding these comments to our CSS? Oof. And maybe somebody also remind me what a CSS comment looks like. Is it? Yeah, it's that. Oh, if you don't remember, comments in CSS are a slash, a star, and then a star and a slash to close. Okay, so above my FB1 class. So I'm going to cut that. Where's the FB1? Do you know what? This code is getting a little long. Haha, FB1. I'm going to come up. Sean, I love this. Oh, and you've said this in such a poetic way. I'm going to put you on the screen in just a heartbeat, just after I copy this. I copy foreground building. And there's no requirement to answer teacher questions in deeply poetic language. But I think at the end of the day, what we're doing when we build stuff for the web, I'm going to do this other one too before I put you up there, is we're really, oh, now I see another good book recommendation. And under the BB1 class, we're going to add this background. So we're leaving ourselves comments that say, here's what this code is. Here's what this code means. So the comments haven't changed anything, but we've left ourselves these notes. And Shop points out so that if somebody else comes and works on our code, they can understand your thought process. Or, and I love this, this is so beautiful, or when you return to it sometime in the distant, misty future, you've left yourself a note. I understand that when it's just me, you get a lot more philosophy, but I love the idea of web development or building things for the web. You're making art out of light and imagination. Like, I love the idea that you can send your vision to someone else around the world. I'm going to check our code. And then, Stephen, if it's okay, I'm going to save this so we could take a look at it in the question and answer, because I think this is so nice. And I want to make sure we've got a book recommendation. I want to make sure that we give this enough time. And while we give this enough time, I mean, I want to put it in my A Libris cart. So we're going to create a new variable in root. Someone who is not me is going to explain, remind me, why are we declaring our variables in this root pseudo element? And remember, the root pseudo element refers to the HTML element here. It covers everything. Why are we declaring our variables here? Actually, I'm going to be mean because I think it was Tessa who pointed this out last time, and that's just the best question. We're going to declare the variable window color 1. I'm going to give it a value. So all these other values have been hex codes. Here we're just going to give it a value of black. And that's done nothing. Why has that done nothing? Because it's not used anywhere. We've declared the variable. I want a variable to exist. I want the name on it, the sticker on it, to be black. And inside it, Oh, wait, I'm rubbish. I want this variable to exist. I want it to be called window color 1, and I want the value inside it to be the color black. Okay, but we haven't called it. We haven't used the value stored in that anywhere. Check our code. We're gonna bop on. It's super chill. Gradients. No, so we've done gradients already. And remember, that's where we start with one color and it fades into the other. And here, I think we're going to set a gradient as a variable. That's so exciting. Oh, no, we're going to use variables to set a gradient. Tessa points out, I love this. We're going to come all the way back to where our root, here we go. And Tessa's saying we need to declare our variables in the root. That way they're accessible. They can be called in any of the descendant elements. So these ones, what we've got in the root, we would call these global variables, and we will call them global variables as soon as we get to JavaScript on February 12th. I'm going to come all the way down. And this one, so gradients, and this looks like a CSS function again, doesn't it? We've got those smooth braces, which we think is a function. Gradient type, okay. Color 1, color 2. Okay, in BB1A, set a background property below the background color, okay, and set it a type of linear gradient. Okay, building color 1 and window color 1. We're probably gonna, in BB1A, okay, so under the background color, at least it's letting us stay on the same lines. I'm gonna set a gradient. I'm gonna set linear. I'm gonna just copy that just because I do not trust my abilities to spell linear gradient. And then the syntax, I think the next thing we type are these smooth braces. We absolutely do. And we're going to want a semicolon after that. So I'm just going to do that now. Did I spell gradient correctly? I'm not feeling super confident yet. Okay. Gradient hyphen type. Let's just see if this works. As I'm not feeling very confident right now, but if I'm wrong, I bet money that it's imaginary money. One of you will tell me. But if you're not able to, we can troubleshoot it. Color 1 and color 2. Okay, and then color 2 is going to be on the second line. That's chill. So our variable we're going to use here is building color 1 as the first variable. And then we've got var and our smooth braces again. Window color 1. Okay. That doesn't feel like it's worked. Oh, do you know what? Do you know what I've managed to do again? This is a little bit embarrassing. I described the gradient that I want to use. It's a gradient. It's a linear gradient. It starts from building color 1 and ends in window color 1. But I did not read all of the instructions and assign it to a property. So that did something this time. It turned it white or it turned it clear. It just didn't do what I expected it to do. Is this one of these examples where, okay, my code passes. We got the syntax right. I bet it's going to tell us what went wrong. Oh, it just didn't load last time. Oh, that's cool as heck, isn't it? Let's make this a little bit bigger to fully appreciate. Oh, that's quite big. That's too big. So we've got this purple to black gradient, which I think looks exceptionally cool. Let's come out one more. We're going to add the same gradient to the, oh, Stephen B., you're saying there's too many gradients in my original code. Is that true? Yes. I said gradient, linear gradient, and yeah, you are absolutely correct. I just needed to say the gradient type. You are durably correct. And luckily, this went ahead and passed me anyway. Bwahahaha. Whereas, see, if you were the teacher, you would not. But that also passed the test, you point out. So we're both correct. No. So I think that it might have just been a test that was not as up to my goofiness as I am. So this doesn't look like we can see gradient, linear gradient work. We could cheat and say, hey, ah, so wait, here, if I say gradient, linear gradient, it breaks. So I'm guessing that that doesn't actually work. It was nice while it lasted. So I want to add the same gradient to the next two sections, but instead of doing that, create a class selector, called BB1, BB, BB1 window. Okay. So here, creating a BB1 window class. Ah, haha, you are not going to trick me again. I'm going to use the class selector. And you might say, Jess, this is a super fiddly way to do things. Is this going to have anything to the way we do CSS in the real world? Oh, I'm so sorry that it is. So I'm going to move the height and background. Move the height and background in here, but I'm going to leave the width. We've got a really good point from Mario saying some tests are super sensitive, but this one maybe only checked that I had the linear gradient right. And maybe it wasn't. So it was me being goofy, but the test also allowing some goofiness. So that's moved in. Okay, so I think all this wanted me to do was create a new BB1 window and take the height and background properties. Not background color, but background. I'm going to put that background color back. Y'all, did some of you get stuck on this forever? I'm not sure if I look. Okay, that's technically correct. This is super fiddly. I would be mad all day if I was doing this as a learner. So add the new BB1 window class to BB1A, BB1B, BB1. Okay. And if I recall correctly, I just need a space. Yeah. I don't add a comma or anything. And here, my biggest test is it seems to be working. Oh, oh, okay. So you didn't want this in BP1D, that the instructions didn't tell me to. Hmm. Okay, that passed. I see. So Eric is saying, I found this very annoying to keep straight in my head. You are immensely patient because, like this, just doing it on screen, I'm going to go give myself a little tiny treat after this for not swearing a single time. I don't need the hider background colors from BB1A, BB1B, BB1C. Ooh, bonus points. And all of these points are imaginary. Can anybody tell me what we call the process we're doing now? So we're going back through our old code and we're optimizing it. We're rewriting it to be more streamlined. Does anybody know what that means? There's a word for it. It's a very, very special word. And what's the word for rewriting your code to be more efficient and more streamlined? You will get a bonus point, and the bonus points buy you nothing. I see somebody saying it, but I'm going to give other people a chance too, just in case they're on the other ones. So you don't need those. Ooh, so I see a different term. Um, Eric, if you're okay with this, this isn't quite the right answer, but I really want to talk about this. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to put this up on the screen, but I won't if you don't want to. So I don't need the height or background. I'm going to remove them from BB1A, BB1B. Okay. I'm going to remove, wait, what? I don't need height or background color from BB1B or BB1C. Y'all, anybody who's already finished this deserves a medal because this is very fiddly to keep through in my head. The next challenge. So folks are coming right in to say, hey, the act of going through your code that you've already written and streamlining this is called refactoring. We're going to talk a lot about refactoring because when you do your projects, it is completely okay just to do enough of your projects where your tests pass. But before you put that in a portfolio, which is going to be our last project, before you put that in a portfolio that you show potential employers, I think you want to refactor it. You want to make it your own. And Eric, if I'm not picking on you, you've mentioned the term reverse engineering. I want to talk about what this is at the end, just because reverse engineering is such a cool concept. It's super advanced. And the fact that you know this term is like super impressive and cool. Okay. So, oh, Stephen makes a good point. Stephen says this step where we deleted a bunch of stuff was hard for you too. Having the height and the width be inherited by the child from the parent feels messy, huh? There may and I love this where you say there's probably opinions about whether or not this is best practice. I don't have any opinions, but I bet people have a ton. And best practices are often shared opinions. That can be a lot. So gradients can have multiple colors. So add a linear gradient to BB1D that starts at orange, and then building color 1, and then wilding color 1. Okay. Remember to use the gradient on the background property. Okay, BB1D is right here. Okay. I'm sorry to sound annoyed, but this one's really fiddly, isn't it? Get a linear gradient. We're going to set that to a linear gradient. Get our smooth braces. And I'm going to put these on separate lines just to keep this straight in my head. We start at orange. Wait. Yeah. I could just say orange. There's a comma between these. There's a comma between these. And then the next one is var. Oh, someone help me. Var what? Var building color 1. I complain a little bit about this lesson being so fiddly, but I'm so sorry that this is. Oh, wait. Yeah, this is often what writing CSS feels like. Oh, I want to change this. Oh, I need to move that. Oh, I've said that. Oh, wow. Sorry. So, I've put the same thing in 2 different places. I'm going to refactor this code and streamline it. Look how exciting this is with the orange. So this being a little bit fiddly and a little bit more stressful kind of better mirrors the way this really works. It's a little hidden, true in the foreground, but we can see this 3-color gradient. Since I'm not using it now, I can remove the background color property. We're going to continue to refactor. You'll hear folks who've been developing for a long time talk about how much they love deleting code. And I love deleting code. So when it says get rid of this, amazing. Ooh, we can also set our gradient transitions. So color 1, and I could say, hey, when we get to 20%, that's when I want to start seeing color 2. Okay. So add an 80% to building color 1 for BB1D. 80% building color 1. Building color 1. And I think that's going to come outside of the variable because if we put it here, 80%, that would make it part of the variable's name. And we don't have a variable called building color 1 80%. I don't think a CSS variable would take the percent sign either. I think that might be and we see that building color 1 starts way down now, bleeding in, and that we've got way more orange. That worked perfectly. Nothing is wrong. Remove the orange? I like the orange. And this unfortunately, this is also a part of how this is gonna feel in the real world, is a lot of times you'll say, "Oh, I'm gonna try it with this." "Oh, not really feeling that," and switch it around. A lot of this is just feeling like what fits. So we've gotten rid of our orange, much to my chagrin, and we've changed our building color 1 to start at 50%. Check our code. Everything's fine. Nest 2 div elements between BB2. Y'all, y'all. Um, okay, hang on. 2 new divs, and they both have classes, and both of the classes start with BB2. Okay. If any of you messed this up a lot doing this, or if you're going to be doing this later, you're going to mess this up a lot because it's fiddly, and I'm making it look too easy. This is like the fourth time in it. Oof, this is the fifth boot camp we've run. So this is like the fifth time I've done this on the air. I'm still messing it up. I'm going to give BB2B a width and height of 100% and make it fill in the building container and add something in the top in a minute. Okay. So BB2B. I like doing this one because it just gives y'all a chance to see somebody be very low key frustrated for a while. And width. Ooh, quiz. It's not a real quiz. What is this 100% of? BB2B. Okay, so that's all. You just want me to make it 100% width and height. Okay. Got our green stripe. Okay. I'm going to create a new global variable. Mr. Grubworm's got it right. Oh, I'm going to make this worse. So you're absolutely correct. It's going to be 100% of the parent based on this very stressful naming convention. What do we think the parent of BB2B is? I'm going to take a wild guess that it's probably BB2. So it's going to be 100% width and height of BB2. Come all the way back up. Whoosh. I'm going to just a new global variable. Oh, Stephen, I'm going to continue to pick on you. Stephen's like, do you know what? Replacing acronyms in your mental narration or talking out loud to yourself is really good for keeping things organized. I cannot recommend strongly enough getting a cat, especially because a cat will sit on a warm laptop all day. And if I'm going through something that's fiddly to keep, so Stephen says, I said, background building 2B, stuff like that out loud to yourself. The number of times I talk to myself day to day, or cat, you can get a goldfish, you can get a stuffed animal, get a rubber duck. What was this variable called? It was called window color 2. But talking to yourself out loud is not just fantastic for keeping things clear in your head, but it's a really, really good way to cement it in your knowledge. I'm going to copy and paste this hex code here. Okay, nothing's happened because we've declared this variable, but we haven't called it. We haven't used it. This feels very, very similar to building color 2, I'm going to tell you. But we've got a green stripe, so we're going to bop on. Nothing is wrong. Oof. Gradient transitions often gradually change from one color to another. We can make it a solid line. Oof. Do I want that? Do I want a gradient that's a solid line? Why would it be a gradient? Why wouldn't I just, you know what? Okay. Create a linear gradient for BB2B that uses building color 2 from 0 to 6. What? And then window color 2 from 6 to 9. I have a friend coming over after this, and she's gonna bring some cake. I'm really excited. She's gonna be, you might get to meet her during the JavaScript boot camp for a surprise thing. Maybe, no pressure. The background, And I'm only bragging about getting cake because I'm absolutely going to need a little treat after this. And I think for those of you who've already finished this, and this is just review, y'all need to go reward yourself in some nice, soft little way after this. And for those of you who are about to do this, I'd go ahead and prep just a little treat. It could be whatever you like. It could be go get yourself a nice sticker if you're sticker motivated. Go outside on a lovely walk, but have a reward in mind for stuff that's a little fiddly because this is fiddly. Linear gradient. Oh gosh, how do a linear gradient is smooth braces, isn't it? We're gonna put them here. And then the syntax is we need a var because this is fiddly as heck, isn't it? It's not just me. That uses building color 2 from 0 to 6. And I think by default, this linear gradient will start at 0, right? So I think I only need to specify 6% here. But if I'm wrong, we can change that. That's not a big deal. We're so laid back about being wrong. I'm going to come here and the second color in our linear gradient is going to be another CSS variable. It's the danger of talking to yourself, isn't it? Trying to keep it. And we're going to use window color 2, this variable. And that's going to start at Okay, I was wrong. So what we do is we call the variable twice. We declare the colors twice, once at the start and once at the end. Okay, being wrong can't hurt us. I mean, being wrong can't hurt me. I don't know about y'all. So, all I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this again. You see why I'm absolutely advocating for y'all rewarding yourself after this one. This is a fiddly lesson. The window color 2. I might be about to lose my reward for not swearing during this lesson. I don't see it. Am I doing this wrong? Background set to linear variant. Is it just, yeah. BB2B should have a linear gradient. All right. Oh, where's the comma? Oh, is that comma tripping me up? Thank you so much. This is a very, very good example that if you have a comma at the end of your linear gradient, it expects you to pass in another color. So it's not gonna render. Frustrating. And we did all that work for a linear gradient that doesn't look that impressive. I'm not in love yet. I'm gonna go on to our next challenge. How far have we gotten through this? Not even halfway. Brutal. I'm going to abandon you all with so much homework. That's going to be the worst. It's going to be brutal. So we can see a hard color change. We can see this stripe. It's not a gradient per se, but it's just a hard color change, like color 1, color 2. And we can see, I thought that these two colors were the same. They're a little bit different. So change the gradient type to repeating linear gradient. Let's go ahead and, I don't think we've seen one of these yet. I'm going to come over to MDN, or you can use whatever documentation you like and look at a repeating linear gradient. Okay. A repeating linear gradient CSS. So it'll let you set the linear gradient once and then repeat it all the way through the container. Hang on, I'm going to make this just a little. Oh, wait, you know what? I'm going to give you the documentation too. Ha ha ha. Look at this cool thing you can do with repeating linear gradient. I'm going to give you the code in case you want to try it. I love this. This is so fun. What does this one do? Shut up. I like this a lot. Okay, so repeating linear gradients are extremely cool and fun. It's a very technical take. So we're going to change linear gradient to a repeating linear gradient. And then it's going to repeat the 4 colors of my gradient until it runs out. So I'm going to just copy repeating linear grading, and we have pasted over. Just like it promised, I see these 2 candy colored stripes. Check our code and bounce on. Okay. We're going to use some tricks with CSS borders to turn BB2A section into a triangle. Okay. But first, we're going to remove the background color because we love deleting codes. We are refactoring. We are having a nice time. What? Create and add the following properties to BB2A. Even without me telling you, what would be the easiest way to do this? The easiest way to do this. You love the dramatic pause, which was just me having some soda. It's nice to have a little treat while you're going. Eric, look, Nikki. Nikki's here over to my heart. Nikki's just like, babe, don't do it. Don't you type all that out. Eric's like, copy the whole thing. Copy the whole thing. Mario just Control C, Control V. Let's get this. I've got an advanced question, which is a preview for JavaScript. Can you think of a reason why sometimes I don't want? So if I find some JavaScript code on the internet, what are some reasons I might not want to copy and paste that into my JavaScript code? CSS, it probably usually can't hurt us, but can we think of some reasons? Copy and paste. What do you mean? What do you mean? Oh, I need to add B1. Cool. Me bold. I thought I was already inside the class. And don't worry if you don't know this question I'm asking you now, because this is a preview question. This is just something to think about. Our CSS is mostly going to be about styling, almost always, almost exclusively about styling. Our JavaScript does a lot more, and we haven't learned JavaScript yet. So if you're just joining us, where I'm asking questions about stuff we're not going to learn for another 2 weeks. It's the JavaScript bootcamp in 2 weeks. Y'all. Oh, that got weird fast. That got very weird. So our top BB1A sort of detached and is floating, and it's got these cool sides. It's got a lot going on. BB1A, I did give it a margin of auto. Wrong building. BB2A. Okay. Oh, Loves, thank you so much. Remember earlier when I was saying, if you mess this up all the time, it's not you? I've genuinely taught the same thing 5 times, and I'm still always trying real hard not to get mad as I do it. So I'm going to start doing this. And as I do this, remember I asked, why would we maybe not want to copy and paste code that we find about JavaScript code offline? And Eric's got a really good one. You know what? With JavaScript code, we don't really know exactly what it's going to do. And there's this idea of malicious code. If you've never heard this comment before, what do you think malicious code? Oh, and if you're a non-native speaker of English, please look up this word because this is such a cool word. What do you think malicious code might do if it was to use a bunch of hard words? So by copying and pasting code you find online, you could introduce malicious code to your code base. Let's logic through what this means. Your code base probably means the code you have, the code that lives in your home base, the code you're working on. Okay. Code base is a term we're going to hear a lot that we're okay with. Malicious code. And Eric's got this. And Eric's saying, oh, mal. Mal is a prefix in English, almost always means bad. So malicious code. I think this means code that could harm my code base. It could harm the system I'm using. It could harm my users. It could pose a security threat. So we just change the border left and border right to use 5 view width instead of 1. Okay. Border left. I'm only going to do a couple more of these. All right. That felt weird. I should remove the width. That also feels weird. I me to do things that just feels weird as heck. While I'm doing one more of these and trying very hard not to say anything rude, does anybody have any questions about what we're working on now? Or do you have any questions about some of the whoopee conceptual stuff we've been talking about? I starred a couple of really, really good things. So the term reverse engineering, I really want to talk about because this is this cool advanced thing and a really good book recommendation. But if anybody else has any questions, you can go ahead and give them to me and I'll answer them in just a quick second. So I'm going to change the two 999 to transparent. Have we done this before? Have we seen transparent colors before? What do we think that's going to do? Look at that. Look at that. It looks like it's white, but it looks like it's white because our background color is white. It just went away. Check our code. Everything's fine. I mean, everything's weird, but everything's fine. We can remove the margin and the border top. And this says it's just going to leave us with a triangle? I have my doubts. Margin do it. If I get rid of my border top? It did indeed just leave me with a triangle. Weird. CSS is weird. Finally, on the border bottom property of my BB1A, BB2A. Finally, this is why I'm abandoning you to do the rest as homework. I can only do and I definitely don't remember I've forgotten how to talk. I definitely don't recommend trying to do this whole thing in one sitting because you'll scramble your brain the same way I've just done mine. Finally, on the border bottom property of BB2A. BB2. Okay. Change the 1 view width to 5. Hang on. One thing at a time. This is too much. Border bottom property, BB2A. Okay. I'm just going to change the 1 view width to 5. Okay. And I'm going to change the color to building. So I'm going to change the 000, the black here, to the variable. So I can't just copy and paste this. I need to say var, and then my smooth babies. Oh gosh. Eric, you're absolutely right. This should be 5 view height. Is it? Oh, is this being weird because I haven't put the color in yet? Okay. I can comment out or remove the border property added at the beginning to get it. Okay. Oh, so at the end, we're going to take away these borders and just leave the buildings. Amazing. And by amazing, I mean this passed and I'm done. I'm for real done. Y'all, I am absolutely losing my ability to say, oh, BB1, 2, B. No. I recommend doing this one in a bunch of different breaks. I personally don't like to. Oh, heck. So, one thing I'll talk to you about is the Pomodoro technique for focus, because I recommend the Pomodoro technique for this specific lesson. We've gone all. Look at this. Look how brutal this is. Oof. We've taken you about halfway through, but a bunch of these are just going to be little tiny changes. If you get a chance, if you can, it'd be fantastic to get through this whole thing for homework. I don't think you necessarily can because I definitely couldn't. This was a lot. And then to make it even worse, tomorrow. So tomorrow we've got a shorter one. That's not a shorter one. Tomorrow we're gonna be working with CSS Grid. CSS Grid is really conceptually difficult to me, so we're gonna have to do this together, and y'all are gonna have to yell at me a lot. I am This sounds weird to say, I'm so excited to report that Ramon is still sick. It's not good that he's sick, but it's so good that he's setting a good example and saying, "Oh, I'm sick. I'm not gonna teach. I don't want to show the learners that you should show up and work when you're sick." Isn't that nice? Oh, that's so good. Eric, you're saying the magazine is a good project? Oh, is that our next project? Oh, product landing page. This could be a real world. So this one is gonna feel a lot more this is gonna be a lot less fiddly than the beep, 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 I promise. Doesn't make a ton of sense, beep, beep, beep. So your homework is, if you can, get through as much of this beep, 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 beep as possible, but don't worry if you don't get through all of it right away. You can come back and finish this later. But I am so proud of Ramon for not being here while sick. Fabulous. He might be back later in the week. That's okay. Oh, but even better, even more exciting, you don't have you so on Friday and Monday, you're going to have only Ramon because I'm going to be speaking at a tech conference over the weekend called FOSDEM. If you want, I'm super happy to share the link to the video when I give it in the Discord. Oh gosh, let's get y'all the Discord link just in case people haven't got it. But I'm going to be talking about AI data sets, and I'm going to be talking about where AI data sets come from, like where and how we ask for permission for AI data sets, and where and how AI data sets just take your data. Ugh. Obviously, I have strong opinions about asking or taking which one is best. Oh, and Stephen's saying, like, you know what? This project with all the BBs was your favorite one. The repetition was good for you. I absolutely respect the difference of opinion here. The repetition here, a little bit brutal for me, but we're free now. Let's take a quick look at these. More comment than question. I love it. So Eric brought up the term reverse engineering. I love this. Reverse engineering is such an advanced topic. I just want to talk about it briefly. Reverse engineering is the engineering process of getting an end result. So this could be a program, this could be an AI result, but you get the result of a process and you say, "Wow, how did this happen?" And you try and decompose it backwards. You try and break it apart and work out in reverse, what did they put into the data set to get this AI result? Or what components did they put into this program that make this program work? It's kind of like, yeah, it's kind of like reinventing something, but through investigative science. I think it's really cool. And now, when we were talking about decomposition, oh gosh, what a fantastic tangent. So we were talking about computer science decomposition. So we were talking about this concept in computer science that says when you have a big problem or a complicated problem, it's best to try and break it into smaller, easier to understand parts. Okay. And it's not only better for you as a human. Whew, I mean, I assume we're all humans. It's not just better for the humans thinking about the process, but it's also easier to maintain that computer science program. But decomposition as an English word also means when stuff rots. And Stephen B has a tangent and recommends this book. Decomposition and compost and hummus are a subject of a recent Donna Haraway book, Staying with the Trouble. I love, love a soft little interesting thing that is not just programming. I know that some people who are getting into programming, they're just like, I have to live, eat, and breathe program. No. So this book is a book about decomposition in the decomposition sense. And this looks so nice. I'm going to see if they've got this at the open library. Look how fun. Oh no. Oh, this looks so interesting. I want to read about decomposition and compost piles. This is a fantastic recommendation. Thank you so much for such a fun and soft human recommendation. I'm going to leave you with an immense amount of homework, a savage amount of homework, a brutal amount of homework, but also the durable reminder that it doesn't have to be done by tomorrow. It doesn't have to be done by next week, and it doesn't have to be done by next year. It's going to be here. Remind me when we come back to talk to you about, let's talk about Pomodoros now, just very quickly. So, the city Skyline has a bunch of different steps. This is going to take forever. If you asked me to sit down and do all of these in one session, I'd be really unhappy. The Pomodoro technique, and I've got a timer. You don't have to have a timer. I mean, you probably have to have a timer. Is this idea of saying, hey, I'm going to focus very deeply on a task for usually it's 25 minutes or maybe 20. Whoop. I've got some other numbers here, but they're for breaks. Say, I'm going to work really, really hard on this problem for 25 minutes. And then my timer's going to go off. And when my timer goes off, I'm going to stop. I'm going to get up. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take a break for 2 minutes or 5 minutes, or if you're me, 10 minutes. And I'm going to give my mind the chance to relax and let go of some of that deep focus. And then I'm going to come right back and go into another 25 minutes. I'm going to get you the Pomodoro technique. Haha, I've got it right here. Is a just absolutely fantastic way to break up or decompose the amount of work you need to get stuff done. You don't have to do it, but I really like it. I like the short breaks. The short breaks are my favorite part. I'm going to let you all go. I'll see you tomorrow, and you can enjoy having Ramon be your solo teacher on Friday and Monday. Bye, my loves.